Hassan Haskins. They might have thought they saw a ghost, but they didn't. It was number 25, Hassan Haskins.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon live on this Monday, November the 29th, as we're ready to get things underway in the last couple of days here in November. Just one more day after this, then we're into December. But guess what? Michigan's going to keep playing as they have a fabulous weekend, an historic weekend at Michigan Stadium, and they beat Ohio State. You know that by now. You also know that they are headed to Indianapolis for the first time to play in the Big Ten championship game. They'll take on Iowa for the Big Ten title coming up at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. And it's a pleasure to be here and talking at you. We've got a special guest coming up here in about 15 minutes from right now. We'll let him be special. We'll see when he comes on. It'll be a surprise, a special guest. We'll be talking about Michigan. And the game this past Saturday, I watched the majority of it again this morning. And guess what? The replay of Saturday's game, if you have it recorded, you might guess this, but it is a spectacular watch to go back and rewatch it and look at all the plays and how Michigan performed. I think under the circumstances that's the best game that I've ever seen Michigan play. With the team backed into a corner, certainly the head coach backed into a corner here in his 7th year. I have to go over all that. I mean, the way they came out and played was really as things of dreams. They weren't perfect, but they were I don't know, close to perfect. They were great. They really were. And I'm going to get to a TMBR message board, the Wolverine Den. Somebody put an interesting question about, the one play or the turning play. And turning point, you usually have, a handful of plays. You can get there and narrow it down. But, this was that's a tall task going through, considering just how Michigan came out on offense, how the defense played. You go to the different units, from offense to defense, the offensive line, the defensive line. I mean, it was an historic performance, and one nobody's, I don't think, ever going to forget here. And there's a lot of great things. Some of the things I would say for me, I mean, here it is on Monday, and it's still, I still feel it. Not even trying to feel it. I still feel it like the afterglow, whether it's, calls or messages or, just online, social media, just riding the wave and everything else. People just the people that really like Michigan, obviously feeling great, about this weekend, and they should enjoy every second of it. And, there's parts that nobody's ever been to this point as a Michigan fan, because Michigan, hasn't been to a Big Ten championship game. So, but just to get another week, that happens at the end. You always wait to the buildup and everything else. So it's the NCAA tournament. You get there and you like the team so much, and then it can all go right out the door. But you get another week. You get another, at least. Well, you're going to get a bowl game too, but you get another week with this team. And man, now all the different possibilities that you think about. You enjoy this week. You get to Saturday. Saturday since they've been doing the championship games, I've it's just been, what has it been? I don't know, about bittersweet. I don't know what the sweet part was. I like football, so watching football all day and watching the championship games, I watched them all. But yeah, you always think about what it would be like if Michigan was actually in here. Well, now we know, and I was a little bit shell-shocked in a good way on Saturday. When you see a team like, can they do this? Can they do that? Can they really? And they did all of that, and it all came together for them, which was, a fabulous thing to witness. But I go to, waking up on Sunday, and I just recall most Sundays throughout the 21st century. And I wasn't thinking about this like, boy, I can't wait to get up on Sunday morning and what I'm going to feel. I didn't think that. But I woke up on Sunday and I remembered all of the bitter Sunday mornings here in, since 2004, really. But one that was different, just waking up and being like, oh my God, I guess the sun's up. But wow, you know what? This is not any fun. This is not going to be a good day, and it's not going to be a good week sports wise. It's just, it's crushing, hollow, all the things but waking up and feeling like, hey, wait a second, where am I? Check the score. And here it is. It's real. And here it is on a Monday. It feels pretty real. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm going to read some of these messages from our board, the Maize and Blue Review, Wolverine Den, about just that one play. If you're somebody that's watching on YouTube live right now, you could also go ahead and put a message down there about the one, if it was a turning point or a key play in this game. I'll talk it over. There's probably, I don't know, 50, maybe that sounds like too many. Good 25 plays that I could go to off the top of my head, talk about it like, oh, yeah, that one was great. Let me go to the broadcast. And Gus Johnson called 3 plays, and I'm going to talk about all 3 of these. And then this particular player. Here is a Gus Johnson who called the game with Joel Klatt on Fox on Saturday. And here's a call of 3 specific plays from Gus.
C.J. Stroud steps up in the pocket and goes down. Michigan gets pressure. Guess who? Aiden Hutchinson.
That was a 3rd down. This is a 3rd down.
Steps up in pressure and goes down again. Aiden Hutchinson with the 2nd sack of the day. Stroud again on the play action fake. Steps up, sacked again. Aiden Hutchinson. That's his 3rd. This kid is unreal.
Yeah, the 3rd one wasn't on 3rd down. The first 2 were, but the 3rd one, it was finally, they'd flipped him a few times, from left defensive end to right defensive end, Ajabo and him, moving around a little bit. That was, seemed like a smart move by Mike McDonald. Don't know where, how they're going to, slide their coverage or their protection or whatever else. But on that 3rd one, Ajabo made Stroud move up into the pocket. Hutchinson was kind of engaged and he just couldn't slam the quarterback down to the turf there. And, there's a part about this, and it almost goes back to the entire thing this year, like in the offseason. There were a lot of Michigan fans, Michigan people that are saying, why would this year be different? And they're offering up, well, they've changed the staff over. You got a new defensive coordinator. You've got the young staff, which is bringing a lot of energy. If I heard it once, I heard it 25 times about, the new staff has brought this energy and it feels differently. And it's like, what, I've been around the block enough times where, I've seen different staffs and different things where, am I really buying into a new staff's energy and how it's going to be different? After last year, I wasn't buying into that. But I also, as great as Aiden Hutchinson is, a couple games ago when people are like, well, what about Aiden Hutchinson? Actually, was it the first that I heard? It was after Josh Gaddis came out. It was after the Indiana game. And Josh Gaddis was like, oh, you know what? The Heisman list, this is the guy, or the number 1 pick and all of that. And, number 1 pick, I don't want to see him go to the Detroit Lions, but number 1 pick is awesome. Maybe the Lions would trade out, but he's playing like a number 1 overall pick. And the thing about the Heisman Trophy here, I thought, heading into last week, that Kenneth Walker III was the front runner. But he got completely, shut down against Ohio State. And, C.J. Stroud entering this week was the favorite for the Heisman Trophy for the most outstanding football player in the country. And, Stroud was good, but he wasn't better than 97. And the way 97 played on Saturday, and it wasn't just those 3 sacks. The, Pro Football Focus puts out a lot of different things, but they look at pressures. And since they've been recording quarterback pressures, what did he now have? 14 pressures for Aiden Hutchinson, the most. And some of those plays, I'm sure you've seen the replay of Hutchinson coming off the end. And I don't know if it was 78 who had a terrible game for it. Nobody could stop him. He's shoving him into the backfield like he was, 5'10", 195. Just an absolute wrecking crew, one-man wrecking crew, but fit into the team there. And with a Jabo on the other side and, the whole defense playing that way, but led by 97, this is the year where, so Stroud's out of the picture, Kenneth Walker's out of the picture, and then people are talking about, well, Bryce Young, he got the job done there for Alabama. It's a quarterback award. Alabama should have got beat by Auburn, and, this wasn't a great performance by Bryce Young. He's a great player. He was zigzagging the last series, and he made a couple great throws. And Alabama won the game, but he's not even the most outstanding player on his team. I would pick the linebacker, Will Anderson Jr., as the most outstanding player. And I think if there's 1 year, I think this, and you have the championship games this Saturday to decide. And it's interesting because, you're a Michigan fan and you're watching this, and Aiden Hutchinson had this, this just incredible game on the biggest stage. And with Woodson in the house and everything else, the defensive player who won it. And then you say, well, this award always goes to the quarterback on the best team. And that's the way I was looking, it was Stroud and Bryce Young, but I just talked about that. Anderson's the best defensive player. If I had to make my list right now going into Saturday, if I was a Heisman voter, Jordan Davis, remember watching the big defensive tackle from Georgia in the first game this year against Clemson, and it was like, look at this guy moving, for the Dogs and dominating the game. And, they're doing features on him, like saying, oh, he's just the greatest guy off the field and on the field. He's a terrorizer. He's a defensive tackle. And, they have put him into the backfield a couple times this year. He scored a touchdown. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I feel like heading into Georgia's number one, they're undefeated. And when you say, well, what makes Georgia special? It's the defense. And who's the spearhead of the defense? It's Davis, their big defensive tackle, right there in the middle of the defense. I would put him 1 on my list right now heading into Saturday. Number 2, I would put Aiden Hutchinson. If you want to say 1A, I think for these two, who comes out? Georgia's playing Alabama. If Davis comes out and just swallows up, the Tide running backs, breaks through, maybe slams Young, who's on that Heisman list, slams him down to the turf, maybe Davis could win the Heisman Trophy. But if Aiden Hutchinson plays like he did last week, I think Aiden Hutchinson is in with a chance to win the Heisman Trophy. And I know that's here we are on a Monday after beating Ohio State talking about that, but it's like everything's on the table now for the Wolverines. And speaking of the Wolverines, here's somebody who played for Michigan who joins us here on the broadcast on TMBR, and it's Jared Wengler, who you see on the screen if you're watching right now. If you're listening on the podcast, you'll hear him here in a second. Here he is, Jared Wengler. How are you, Jared?
I'm doing great, Dennis. How about yourself?
Man, you know what? This was quite the weekend for Michigan here, and just what it means for everything when it comes down to the football program. Where'd you watch the game at?
I was at the game. I was in the stadium, man. One unbelievable atmosphere, arguably the best atmosphere I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, well, so tell me a little bit more about it. When you're in there, what did you think heading into the game, and when did you think like, oh, okay, this Michigan's in for real here? What did you think heading in, and when did you think maybe that it was their day?
Yeah, I mean, going into it, I had an extreme level of confidence just because talking with the guys throughout the week. I mean, there was no like hesitancy of like, oh, it's Ohio State. Like they're in it to win the championship. They're like, it wasn't even like, oh, like shell shock, like we got to play, Ohio State. They're a highly ranked team. We have beaten a while. It's like, hey, we need to beat them to accomplish our goal of winning a Big Ten championship to then accomplish the goal of winning a national championship. So like, it's for all the marbles. These guys are in a really good spot mentally.
You talk about the mental aspect. I was listening to Aiden Hutchinson heading into the game, and for 97, he was like, we're going out there. We're confident. We're not going to be scared of these guys. And to your point, they didn't play like that. Like from the first series, the offense went right down the field, got in there and scored. And then the defense came out. Certainly the special teams pinned him back there. The guy dropped the ball in the 5, but the defense got a 3 and out, and nobody was playing scared in that game. from Michigan.
Absolutely not. And that's the thing too, is like Ohio State, they're good for a couple of really big plays. And as you saw, there's a couple third downs where they capitalized, made some really big plays. But it's a testament to the culture of that team and the coaching is that the adjustments were made, and then they don't let those big plays turn into scoring opportunities, or they limit them to 3 points. So it was just all around probably the best called game, like from the coaching staff. Their scheme was phenomenal, and the team just, we bullied them around, like up and down the field. We played great. So just an awesome experience.
Take me back, Jared. You know, you played for Michigan. Did you come in on Hoax last year and then went in with Harbaugh, or were you there for Harbaugh's first year? How did that go?
Hoax first year. So he recruited me out of high school,
Right.
redshirted as a freshman, still just trying to get my footing down. And obviously coaching change happens after that. I have nothing but great things to say about Coach Hoke. He's a phenomenal person. But yeah, played for Coach Harbaugh for 4 years, and it's just awesome to see that now and stride. I think he's really hitting his stride. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, well, you know what? You can give a thumbs up to Brady for San Diego State going out there and 11-1, I think. So fabulous year for Brady Hoke. I'm a big fan of Brady and Laura and the entire family there. So I have nothing but respect for Brady Hoke. So the Jim Harbaugh comes in, and so you saw it in from a fan standpoint, everybody was lifted up and was thinking about this day. So I don't know, like you're in a pretty unique position to, have seen the coaching change and the feeling around the program, and to then what it was like on Saturday. How do you explain it to people?
I mean, I think everybody, like, it's such a high profile program, right? So everyone's kind of seen the evolution of coach's tenure here. And it's just this year he's just done a phenomenal job, right? Like everyone calling for his head a year ago, and now to where we're at now. I mean, he should win Coach of the Year, right? I mean, he's done such a phenomenal job. The staff that he has in place right now is unbelievable. This defensive staff, you can't say enough about. And I mean, you look at guys like Sharon Moore. I mean, you look at just Mike Hart. I mean, all these guys in the offensive staff, the guys are responding so well to them. So, I mean, it's no secret, right? You see it on the field. You see them in the press conferences. You see all the players gloating about how great of a culture it is right now and how they'd run through a brick wall for their coaching staff. And that's what it's supposed to be. Like, that's what Michigan football is. That's what my dad and all those guys talk about with Bo Schembechler. Like, they have that relationship right now with the staff.
What do you think this does? I know you're a psych guy, psychologically for Michigan. Like, it feels to me like here on this Monday, it felt like it yesterday. In fact, it felt like it Saturday, like this, the monkey was off their back, and it's just, and I think Harbaugh said it, like, I don't know the specific question, but he said, it feels like a new beginning. Like,
Right.
This is a new beginning for Michigan. And it kind of feels like this was what everybody was waiting for. And people were hoping that, heck, in 2015, it looked like it was going to happen there. Certainly in 2016, it looked like it was going to happen, with the spot and everything. But here it is. And to his point, it does feel like it feels different. And maybe it is a new beginning. But what about the psychology of getting this win and getting the Ohio State monkey off their back?
Right. Well, I think it's the start, right? This is where the real work starts. I mean, Ohio State's never going away. Like, they're going to have top players come in every year. So we have to come in and play our best football against them every year to win. Just because we beat them this year doesn't mean we're going to go on a 10-year winning streak. This is where the work starts, and the guys know that. So now they have the confidence. They know we can beat Ohio State. We did beat Ohio State, right? And so they know, like, all right, well, Georgia and Ohio State are on the same level, Alabama and Ohio State on the same level. Like, we can play with anybody in the country. So it's just about having that confidence instilled in the program. They're going to have a lot of juice to carry them through the end of this year and then all the way up until next season and years to come. So it's just exciting to see all that confidence flowing around the program.
Matt Leinart was with the Fox broadcast crew in the pregame, and at some point, I think it was yesterday, he came out, tweeted that it was the best atmosphere that he'd ever seen. And, part of that, you get the great rivalry, and then you get the snow coming in there. I mean,
Right.
it was, just quite a spectacle. But the crowd, and you're somebody, you mentioned your dad, John, and I'm guessing that you grew up in Michigan Stadium. You've seen a lot of games there. You played, and now you were back there on Saturday. Like, the atmosphere, what did you think of all that? Can you, classify it?
I would say different this year than years past. I would say, like, people don't really look into this that much, but when we play Ohio State at home, it's always over Thanksgiving weekend, right? So the student body is actually, like, majority of New York and Los Angeles, like, they're all spread out and they're back home. but they did such a good job. Our social media manager and media people in the Michigan football program just getting out there on social media, like get to the game, be loud, wear maize. Like they did it for the Washington game. I mean, that was like the most best coordinated maize out that we've had. So I think on all cylinders, the program and the athletic department, they're doing a great job of making sure like, hey, come support. Like we need you all this year. Because whenever we played against Ohio State at Ohio State, like loudest game of the year by far. And that's because their student body, like most of those students are from the Midwest. They're from Ohio or they're from Indiana or Illinois. So like they're all local and they all come to that game. But in years past, not saying that the environment was not loud ever when we played at home against Ohio State when I was there, but you could tell a lot of the students were back home with their families out of state. So it's just cool to see everybody kind of buying in for this game this year.
Speaking of social media, for those of you that are listening to the podcast, you'll see it if you're watching it, but this is Jared Wengler, our guest, but at J Wangles too on Twitter. You're probably already following him, but maybe there's one or two that are not. So you want to jump on Twitter at some point and give him a follow. So I don't know, were you around a bunch of former Wolverines, family, by yourself? Well, where were you in the stadium?
Yeah, I was with family, and it was just everyone came back in. They all live out of state, so it was cool to be there. And then all of our former teammates were in town, so tailgated with them before and saw them afterwards, and just like an overall feeling of just happiness for these guys in the program right now and for Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, I was taking a look at all of it, talking about social media, everybody's little different video. I saw dudes, 50, 60 years old jumping down, running out on the field, making snow angels and things like that. What did you do after the game?
Oh, storm the field. Yeah, I was with the guys. I was, I don't know, probably 20 minutes into it. I like locked eyes with Aiden. We ran over each other, just started shaking each other's heads, like gave him a big hug, saw his mom, Melissa, and his sisters. And it was just overall, what a cool feeling for just like a great family. Like they've just done everything right since day one. So it's just really cool to see that for them in his senior year. I know he wanted this more than anybody, and they went out and did it.
Yeah, Aiden took a great selfie in the stands. I think his mom, I don't know if he's about 20 other fans, behind him. And it's just a great picture. The other one to me is Juwan Howard coming up and hugging Jim Harbaugh, a little bit of a video there. You mentioned Aiden Hutchinson, and right when you came in, I don't know if you heard me talking about it, and it sounds like a little bit of a slant, just like towards Michigan, but I don't think it is. I think it's one of these things like this particular year, how things have shaken out. This should be the year of the defensive player. When Georgia, their defensive tackle, he's their best player. I mean, you want to start talking about Stenson Bennett it's Davis, their defensive tackle. He's their most outstanding player. The most outstanding player on Alabama, they've got good wide receivers in Mechie and the quarterback Young, but Young wasn't good in that game on Saturday. But Anderson, their linebacker, he's their most outstanding player. And on Michigan, Haskins, you want to put, but Aiden Hutchinson put on such a performance there. I think he should be right there with a chance if he comes out and puts on one of these, Charles Woodson taking a punt back or Desmond or something. He gets a strip sack this time and falls on it, and the refs don't take it away from him. I think he could win the Heisman. What do you think?
100%. I don't even think, obviously, he's going to go out and do what he does this Saturday, but regardless, he's had his Heisman moment, right? He broke the sack record here at Michigan. We're the most storied program in college football. Like what he's done this year, he deserves a spot there. It's in New York, I believe, right? The ceremony is. Yeah. Wherever it's at, he deserves to be there and deserves a shot at winning it. Because, in years past, it's usually been a quarterback or a running back, but there really is no like Lamar Jackson type guy, or there's no quarterback that's separated himself. And defensive players like him, they disrupt the entire game, and that's what he's done every game this season.
Yeah, who knows? The Downtown Athletic Club is in New York, but it might be one of the situations with COVID. They might be doing it, some other way. But I was rewatching the game today, and to watch him fire out of his stance and to either just bull rush guys, go around him, hold them, and it is a spectacular watch to go back. And
he's a load. I mean,
go ahead. They were talking about his pressures were unbelievable.
Oh yeah, they're phenomenal. I mean, like if you can get, and that's the thing, people don't realize our scheme is so like our defense is playing at such a high level. If you can get to the quarterback rushing 4 players, like that just sets you up for success. And that's what we're doing. We're able to get home with Aiden and David and just rushing 4 our down 4 linemen. Like it's a huge difference maker. It lets us do a lot more things on the back end.
Yeah, well, so from here they go to Iowa, and you talked about, you sounded like a former player there and a coach, and you were both, so not a surprise when you started talking about, they still got work to do, and this is the beginning here because they do have this Big Ten championship, and if they were able to beat Iowa, which they're a heavy favorite, but Ohio State was a heavy favorite over Michigan. How do you see this week playing out? Like, I'm just like thinking about the playoffs now and thinking about, heck, Michigan could play Cincinnati. They could probably beat them. Maybe they could beat Georgia. So I haven't, there's no way that I'm taking it, one day at a time, or, I'm taking it all now. But, do you feel like what you've seen here and with your background that they'll be able to do that?
Look, everyone likes to think into the future, right? I mean, it's right there. You can almost taste the playoff, but Iowa's going to be a tough game, if not the toughest of the year. I mean, they have a really stout offensive line. They've got really good coaching staff there. It's going to be a tough game. They're going to come out. They're going to play their best game of the season, as everybody does against Michigan, right? You went and saw Michigan State played lights out, their best game of the season against Michigan. Iowa's not going to roll over and say, oh, they beat Ohio State, so like they're just going to come beat us. Like, no, these guys are coming in because they believe that they're the best team in the Big Ten. So I think it's going to be a tough game. We're going to go in. We're going to play a great football game, and I'm looking forward to seeing us play on Saturday.
What if I told you that Michigan beats Iowa and then gets the number 2 slot in the college football playoff and takes on Cincinnati and beats Cincinnati and then plays in the championship game in 2022 and is in with a chance against Georgia? What would you say about that?
I'd say, yeah, we should all have that confidence that our team can do that. But we got to win against Iowa on Saturday first. That's bottom line.
No, that's good. I know where you're where you're at right there. That's to bring it back here just today. There's been so much so much good news, and I thought there would be a lot of good news after Michigan beats Ohio State, because you don't have to listen to people nationally like laugh at Michigan or mock Michigan. I mean, that's a hard thing to take. I'm sure it's more difficult for you than it is for fans and just people that are watching. Me, somebody that's been a part of it. What's been the best aspect since Saturday for you as somebody who played? And then you were a grad assistant for a year there, special teams coach?
Yeah, I was working with Coach Partridge right after I finished, and so helping out with special teams. But yeah, the coolest thing to me is just talking to the players and their families. And it's not like a cockiness or arrogance in the program. Like, it's really just like a confidence and just happiness. Like, they're truly happy. I mean, this team got so much mud slung at them through the offseason. I mean, what odds for them for their win total this year was like 7.5 or something? Like, nobody believed in them. So they're just going out and having fun. And it's just really cool to see the senior class go out on a high note, especially playing their last game in the big house, and to go out that way. It's just really cool to see.
I can keep you all day. I'll just fire some quick ones at you. And, Ronnie Bell coming back, we hear that news. That's great news. I mean, he got hurt in the first game, and, to see how the wide receiver stepped up, even in this game here, different guy. Roman Wilson went down, then it was Andrell Anthony who stepped up. Seemed like Cornelius Johnson was there the whole time, but a fabulous group of wideouts here. And AJ Henning got going. He was huge, returning punts and scored that first touchdown. He was fabulous on Saturday, but having Bell back, that's a real boost here for this team. And great news after.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you have a big playmaker, a guy who can stretch the field, a really, really good locker room guy. So I think it speaks volumes that it's just like, hey, are you coming back? Like, yeah, absolutely, I'm coming back. So these guys are teed up, right? We're going to finish this year strong, and I mean, we're just going to build on it for next year. And we have a lot of talent that'll be on the team next year as well. So.
Jared, tell me this, the name, image, and likeness started this year across college sports. And, Michigan had some big time visitors in this week. And, there was one guy who committed to USC, and then he went to Alabama, and then he opened things up. He's a corner out of California named, his name is Damani Jackson. And he's a childhood friend or a friend of Will Johnson, Michigan commitment. And he said it was a dream, to come to Michigan. And, I had heard, I don't know if Michigan was presenting him their ideas and what can happen with name, image, and likeness. And a lot of people ask me, like, why isn't Michigan having this Publix, like saying, hey, come to Michigan. This is what they can do for you, whether it's going to put a number out, whether it's going to be specifics about, hey, you know what, you can work for Jared Wengler, and, you can make 50,000, whatever it is. How come it's not public? And how do you think they're approaching it?
Yeah. Well, they're approaching it how they're supposed to be approaching it, right? They're not allowed to facilitate any sort of NIL activity. Like, it's been very clear in the state law. But the beauty of what my partner Nico and I have put together is we're a third-party group, right? We're our own private company, and we have a great relationship with the athletic department, and they have an understanding of how we're operating and what we're doing. And so we have trust built there, and we're working with a lot of the athletes, and we already have deals set up with the MDN where these guys are making $20 per jersey sold. They're making money off of jersey t-shirts. They're doing signing events. And so, like, yeah, there's kids not just getting Porsches thrown at them for committing, and the media makes it out to be like they're given a Porsche, but it's really just like a short-term lease. Like, there's a lot of schools in the SEC that are used to, I think, recruiting a little bit different than us, and they're using NIL to recruit that way. But what we've been building out over the last 6 months, and what we like, the month of December, I'll tell just everyone be prepared. The month of December will be really fun for NIL with Michigan. There'll be some cool announcements being made. But yeah, Michigan's embracing it, but we're not going out and just doing these one-off deals with car dealerships and making it seem like we're giving kids free cars, because that's not what NIL is about. There's a lot of opportunity for student athletes to be compensated for what they do on the field, and being at a place like the University of Michigan with the biggest brand in college sports, there's going to be some trickle down and really good opportunities for the student athletes. So just, everybody there'll be some cool announcements coming soon.
Jared, that's one of the greatest teases I've ever heard, from somebody that's in radio. Stay tuned. Michigan fans are going to love it when it comes down to the NIL here in December. I mean, that is action-packed. How do I get one of those? Is it easy as going online? I see your shirt, and I see the V there. What's
we sell all of our stuff through the MDN. So yeah, and Dennis, I'll make sure we can get a package put together for you all in the studio. But we sell directly through the MDN. So any Valiant apparel, jersey T-shirts, Valiant, Michigan versus everybody, all that stuff is like the student athletes get compensated for that. So Michigan versus everybody, if anyone's seen that, there's knit hats, there's sweatshirts, there's T-shirts. A percentage of that sale goes back to a pot of money that gets evenly distributed amongst the student athletes. So like, there's ways you can go out and support. And the MDN, they really need to be commended. I think, like, out of any company in the United States, like, they have taken like the most direct approach to making sure the student athletes are being taken care of. So if you guys want to be able to support the student athletes, there will be some opportunities through the MDN. Another thing to stay tuned for.
That is, have you noticed with your analytics or anything else since like Saturday at around 3:30, it's kind of like this, and all of a sudden,
oh yeah, it's awesome. That. It's awesome to see, right? Because you can see in real time after a big performance from a player what their sales are on their items, and it's cool. That's the way it should be. Like, they're playing at such a high level. They're giving everything to the University of Michigan, and it's awesome that the fans now have an opportunity to support them.
Jared, I appreciate your time. I do 2 segments every day at 1:00. One is a recruiting spotlight, which I'm going to get to. I also do a memorabilia minute, and I've got a couple old, ticket stubs from this year that I'm going to be throwing out there. But if I could ask for an audible, that helmet back there, is that your helmet from when you played there?
That's mine. I don't know how much. I don't know how much that thing will be worth, but probably not as much as some of the high-profile guys. But that is my helmet behind me.
No, it's looking pretty good. You got some of the stickers on there, so that's bad. You can get it. There you go.
We got some.
Let's see that thing.
We got some stickers. We got some battle scars up front. Classic fullback helmet. I don't know.
That is awesome. Now that's the memorabilia minute.
There you go.
A real helmet there. Anything else that you want to tell people about that they can go out there and what you're doing and what you're involved with, and now's the time to do it.
Yeah, stay tuned. There's a lot of really exciting things taking place in the NIL space at the University of Michigan, and there will be opportunities to engage and interact with your favorite athletes. And we're just excited to bring this to Michigan. I think we're just scratching the surface of what this can be. So stay tuned. It's going to be an exciting month.
Great tease. Thanks for coming on, engaging with the Maize and Blue Review audience. It's great to talk with you. Enjoyed all your insights there, and we'll see you down the road. Best of luck.
Thank you so much. Talk soon.
Thank you, Jared. We'll see you.
Bye.
There he is, Jared Wengler, a former Wolverine, joining us here. And you know what? My cheap little memorabilia minute was. I'm just going to show you here. Well, I was not at the game on Saturday. I have stayed away from large gatherings. Still, here at the end of 2021, I love to go to stadiums. I love to go to games. Nothing more over the last 25 years that I've enjoyed doing. I have gone. So my only mementos are these tailgates that I was working, where I was doing a broadcast before. And there's some really nice ones, but what am I going to do? I should have thrown all of these out, but I'm undefeated. And then this particular one, why would I do anything with this one except keep that one around? When I keep it forever, probably keep it over there in the back of the studio. We'll hang that one up next to the Valiant T-shirt that's sent on down that will hang right here. All right, let's get to that recruiting spotlight, and for that, Michigan has picked up. We figured that there's going to be some good news when it came down to U of M and things that are happening since this game, the victory. There are a lot of different players that were in. One of the players that was in was a defensive tackle, not for this upcoming year, but for the following year, Joel Starlings, a defensive tackle, 4-star, and he becomes the second commitment for not this year, but the following year. In Michigan off, they got a left-footed kicker, Adam Samaha, right out of Ann Arbor, who I was watching easily kick 50, 60-yarders, not in a game, but nice and easy breezy, just banging them through. Looked like they would have been good from 70. I'm all in on a 70-yard kicker. And then 60. Certainly, I'll take a dead eye from 50 every time from Adam. But Starlings looks like a good one. He had down to Michigan, Georgia, Whiskey, Penn State, Texas A&M. He was at the game. And, it was just too much for him to handle, too much, let's not go anywhere else. When it's the fit, it's the fit. And he committed. And then Michigan gets Ronnie Bell as well, saying that he's coming back. And, that was, I thought, a huge blow, for the Wolverines in that first game. They had so many big plays against Western. Ronnie Bell was one of them, big-time touchdown. It's this is going to be awesome. He gets hurt, and then it's whoa. Who's going to step up? Well, they ended up stepping up, piecing it together. Those wide receivers, one of the stories of this Michigan team. But having Ronnie Bell back is worth its weight in gold. All right, you heard a little bit from Jim Harbaugh right after the game, talking about Hassan Haskins.
Might have thought they saw a ghost, but they didn't. It was number 25, Hassan Haskins.
And number 25 doesn't have a lot to say usually in the post games, but man, this game with 5 touchdowns and just the way he's come on, you go back. I'm speaking of that Western game, and you look, and there were all those big plays. Blake Corum had a big kick return, and the 1-2 punch. We forget about this. There was the ground and pound where Michigan ran for 300 and whatever it was, 45 yards. And I'm getting a sweet picture of. I know Josh got me some shoes. Maybe Josh Henschke sending me a picture of the publisher of TMBR, some shoes that maybe he's picked up for me. All right, let's go. Where was I at? Oh, the 1-2 punch with Haskins and Corum. Fabulous. Oh, well, here's what Haskins had to say after the game about beating Ohio State.
I told myself I'm not going down. We got to win this ball game. And I just kept telling myself that. And I put that in the back of my mind, and I went out there with determination to win.
There he is. I just have to clarify that. You know what? That name does not say Josh. It says Jack. He's showing me his shoes. Maybe they're nice shoes anyways. So, there's Haskins. And Aiden Hutchinson, I've got some sound from him. Let's go back. You had the calls from Gus Johnson. This was on a third down. Big third down. This one was inside the red zone in the first half on a third down. I mean, they're in the red zone here. That's huge. And then Ohio State was moving the ball a little bit, and then he came up from the left side, was engaging. Ajabo moved Stroud forward. Boom. Down he went. One of the Heisman favorites now, Aiden Hutchinson. And here's what he had to say on the field with Jenny Taft from Fox after the win.
This is the best moment of my life. I manifested it. I'm here with my family, with my teammates on this glorious day that we just beat Ohio State.
You know, it's some great audio there. I think like the Cookie Monsters in the background there, if I could play it again. It's one of the great sound bites of all time here from Aiden Hutchinson, having the game that he did, you know, him talking about how much he meant. It meant to leaving it all on the field. But then you got, the Cookie Monster in the background.
This is the best moment of my life. I manifested it. I'm here with my family, with my teammates on this glorious day that we just beat Ohio State.
Yeah, the snow's coming down. They just beat Ohio State. Now they're on to the Big Ten championship game. That's pretty awesome. And there's been a lot of great things since Saturday. And one happened kind of out of the blue last night watching Sunday Night Football. Mike Tirico was in for Al Michaels. He was on with Chris Collinsworth, and the Baltimore Ravens beat the Cleveland Browns. And here's Tirico on NBC last night at the end.
For the week, the final tally is Harbaugh's 2, Ohio nothing.
You've been waiting all night for that one.
It allows me to enter Ann Arbor safely when I return home.
I feel like I want to impersonate Chris Collinsworth's laugh. Let's
For
try
the
it
week,
again.
the final tally is Harbaugh's 2, Ohio nothing.
You've been waiting all night for that one.
It allows me to enter Ann Arbor safely when I return home.
I don't know. It was thanks to NBC for the audio there. It's good stuff. Oh, you want more? All right, let's see if I can pull this one up. Oh, we got some music going. Set. All right, we'll hold that one. But this one, people were really mad, and they wanted to get back at Paul Feinbaum because they hate him so much.
It's not a Wednesday on this program if I don't ask Paul a Jim Harbaugh question.
ESPN.
What do we think? Is this the year? Is this the week he finally does it?
No. Greeny, you can ask me this question until I'm 150, and the answer is still no. I don't think this Michigan team, although they are better than they have been, significantly better, can beat Ohio State. This is a really good, if not great, Ohio State team. And I think there's something in Jim Harbaugh's brain. I don't know what it is. I don't really want to know. He is incapable, Greeny, of beating his biggest rival.
It's not a Wednesday.
Well, there he is. A lot of people wanted to go after Paul Feinbaum. And that makes me think about, what Jim Harbaugh had to say after the game. I recall when Harbaugh came in, he's taking shots. And there've been a lot of coaches that go from college to the pros, Nick Saban being one of them, not having success, go back to college. But it usually doesn't happen where you go to the pros and have a lot of success and then go to college. But Jim Harbaugh did do that, and he came in and, he's taking shots right off the bat at Nick Saban, and with the satellite camps and everything else. And, he was fast on Twitter and taking shots at other people. But, as things went on and, when you're not winning, there was no, Jim Harbaugh rising up and having anything to say. But after the game on Saturday, he came up with the, some people are just, wake up on third or whatever, the idea that Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, was just gifted. This team and, sitting there on third acting like, he built this thing from the ground up or something, whatever. However, I mean, it's going to rankle some feathers for sure. And, they're just going to use it from Ohio State. And, I'm one that likes to, I enjoy a little trash talking and that, but I've always wanted to advise like Harbaugh, like, no. But, over the years here, it's just, I think Jim Harbaugh, that's him. He's got to have that that what's your deal? Like, ready to fight, but he's going to say something and he's going to take a shot at you. And that's just in his DNA. They play this commercial with Serena Williams where she's Superwoman, and they've got John McEnroe over there, and he's like, you cannot be serious. And, John McEnroe was a great tennis player. But what I remember about John McEnroe when he played tennis, the lefty, and, I loved watching him play, and everybody did. But he was a super brat. He was crying all the time. And I'm not comparing, like, saying that Jim Harbaugh was crying. What I'm saying is that there was a part of McEnroe's game where he had to, like, throw his racket. He had to go to the official and scream and yell at him, even though if you were a coach or somebody else and say, hey, you're unraveling. That's not good for you. It dialed him in. And I think, that was part of him. And that's the comparison I make. I think Harbaugh has to get after, his opponent that way. He has to, take a shot. And, he had a lot built up there. So, does it matter? I hear people all the time say, none of that stuff matters. You know what matters? The psychology or whatever you're thinking about in your head, and whatever makes you wake up and whatever gets you ticking to go. And if it is to wake up and to be tough and beat Ohio State and all of that. And if you wake up, if Ryan Day wakes up tomorrow and he's going to be like, I'll show you who's waking up on third. You don't think that can be a little extra motivation for him? I don't know. When I see these supremely successful coaches and athletes, as much as I hear everybody else, saying, that stuff doesn't matter. None of that. You think there's going to be an extra play or something? As much as I hear, and I get it, you should be able to be self-motivated anyways. But when I hear the very top athletes, like, who was it? I was watching Draymond Green on the Manning cast. Draymond Green got drafted. He didn't get drafted in the first round. He was able to recite everybody that got picked before him in the first round. He's like got an Andre Drummond at 10 and right down the list. They do it. The Last Dance, Jordan was over there and I remembered that. Tom Izzo up there in East Lansing, he's like looking at message boards and, after a game, it's like one of his favorite things to do. And some guy on the message boards trashing our team. It's like, why is Tom Izzo worried about some guy that is, 6'4" blue, trashing him on a message board? It just all comes, it comes back to the psychology and, and those things can matter. And I think it mattered this year. Now, looking back on it, a lot of it, like Michigan just putting up a wallpaper saying, what are you doing to beat Ohio State today? You say, okay, slogans are great. But you know what? It was just like me hearing about the coaches, like, what do you think about this young coaching staff? I'm like, I don't know. Sounds good, but they've made a lot of coaching changes in the past, but they're really bringing the energy. Well, you know what? I'm buying the energy now that they brought. I saw an offensive line put on a performance. The 95 Michigan game where Biaka Batuka ran for 313 yards. The offensive line that day was great, as you would expect. Blowing Ohio State backwards off the line, just pulverizing them. You go back, I watched the game today, and I'm going to watch it a few more times. Watching these guys come out, Corum's big play, the 55-yarder that he had. You look, Keegan's like, smashing somebody 5 yards, 10 yards down the field on the run. He's doing the same thing, later on this on this Haskins run down into the south west corner. Same way. Bastardis was great. The offensive line was great in this game. So was pretty much everybody down to a man when it came to it. So it was going back and watching this was spectacular. Now, Michigan's a 10.5-point favorite to win the game on Saturday against Iowa, Saturday night. 10.5-point favorite. Iowa, watching them, a few times this year, watching them against Penn State. Penn State was going to beat them that game until Sean Clifford got hurt, and their backup quarterback was not prepared and could not run the team, false starts all over the place and everything else. And I also caught a little bit of that Purdue game when Purdue came out and punched them in the mouth, and they lost to Wisconsin 27-7. And I watched, Saturday's game. They played, no, it was Friday. Sorry. Good Friday, Black Friday. They beat Nebraska. Tyler Goodson, their running back, had 156 yards. He's the key. He's somebody that he reminds me a little bit of Donovan Edwards, where you get him out into space and you just let him fly. He's that kind of back. So he's, to me, the most dangerous. They got a couple. They're pretty big on turnovers coming up, opportunistic defense, especially their safeties coming up. I know the one guy got hurt. I don't know if he's back, but I think the Hawkeyes, if Michigan's not turning the ball over, the Iowa offense, they can just concentrate on slowing Tyler Goodson down. I think, they're not multiple that way. You contain him and you don't turn the ball over. I think Michigan's going to win the Big Ten. And then just looking ahead, thinking about the college football playoff, if Michigan does win on Saturday, I mean, it's not too much of a leap now saying let's not, tap the brakes. I don't think there's any brake tapping that needs to happen here. Michigan, if, Georgia beats Alabama, that selection committee, what we have seen is they can pick anybody they want, but they shouldn't pick a two-loss Alabama team over, certainly not Cincinnati. Cincinnati will be in there. But they certainly, I would put Oklahoma State and I would put Notre Dame. And I know Alabama fans, we're better than both of them. Well, you lost 2 games. All right, you lost 2 games at some point. And you know what? You should have lost to Auburn. I know you didn't, but you almost lost to Florida. There's about another 3 games in there. It's not like Alabama, and I know you live off your name a lot, but it's not like Alabama was running roughshod over everybody, and now they just, they stubbed their toe once on the road. And then, almost got, there've been a lot of close shaves here for the Tide. This is not, Nick Saban's, one of his, vintage teams. And if they get beat by Georgia on Saturday, they shouldn't be in the college football playoff. And you know what? Even if they are, you know what? I don't think Michigan should be that, the way they played against Ohio State, they play like that against Alabama, they can beat them. And certainly they can beat Iowa and they can beat Cincinnati. And now you're talking about playing in a championship game. I think those things, all of that to me is on the table. All right. Thanks for watching here on this Monday. I'm going to go back. I didn't watch the last 10 minutes of the game on Saturday. I'm going to do that. Be with you back at it tomorrow. We got some recruiting to get to tomorrow. I've been tapping that Rivals phone list, sending some, getting fired up about the week, sending off some of these recruiting gurus. Get them on, and we'll have some recruiting for you. The recruiting spotlight is going to be in play tomorrow, right off the jump at 1:00. If you're listening to this after the fact, if you just a couple things to remind you about. One is that great special. They broke it out on Black Friday, but here it is. If you're watching, you'll be able to see it in just 1 second. But if you're listening here to the podcast, you get a year of the Maize and Blue review, $20.21. Go to michigan.rivals.com, promo code RIVALS2021, and you can get involved on the TMBR message board, which I wanted to share with everyone here. On the message board, there was a post that was put out there about Michigan fans were talking about one of the plays that turned the tide. Now, 25 plays, 50 plays turned the tide in this one. It was such a, an incredible game here. I feel like Josh Ross in the opening series of the third quarter Michigan's linebacker, number 12, shot the gap. It was a 3rd and short and came up and put Travion Henderson on the ground. I think it was Henderson. And it was 3 and out for the Buckeyes. That felt to me like one of the big plays or turning plays in the game. The next series, Michigan came out not with Hassan Haskins, who was awesome. It was Blake Corum, part of the 1-2 punch. And Corum ran for a first down over to the right side, and then he took it off to the left side, cut it back, and ran to daylight for 55 yards. I'm going to pick that play as my, and here I am picking 2 and mentioning 3, but I would pick that one. Like I said, you could pick, 50, but let's see what some of the folks had to say here on the message board about that one play. This one is from 9/11 Blue, who says it was the play where Roman Wilson got his helmet ripped off. Now, that was an incredible sequence. Roman Wilson's in the end zone. Brown, the DB, he does grab onto him a little bit, and then Brown proceeds to grab Wilson's helmet and rip it off and throw it down the field. Like, I don't know, I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't like he ripped it off and dropped it right there. His helmet went rolling on the field. Now, I think the proper call on that would have been unsportsmanlike. I wouldn't have been surprised. I don't know if it was the proper call. Let me back that up. It feels like to me that when it was happening that we were going to get an unsportsmanlike conduct both ways. And then I thought Brown should have been thrown out of the game, ripping somebody's helmet off. So, and so there wouldn't have been 15 yards against OSU, but they would have lost their defensive back. And you're going to say, okay, I think that's a direction they could have gone. But they also went with, they always say it's not the first offender, it's the retaliation. It always happens in hockey that way. It seems like 90% of the time. And, Roman Wilson with the little grab on the ankle or whatever you want to say, but then the helmet rip. All right. So it cost him 15 yards. The whole thing, you had 71 and 77 standing there like in front of him with a big blue wall. But it was great. It was great that they came to the aid of their teammate. They stood their ground, and yet there was no pushing and shoving there, just getting up in his face. Although Eric All, if you continue to break down that video a little bit, the Michigan tight end, he gets in there and, he's all over Brown. And then, and it might've been Jay Harbaugh that circled around in there. The referee gets dumped between Eric All and one of the Michigan assistants. And, all of a sudden that could have been another. I think Michigan got a little bit lucky in that whole sequence where the whole temper's flaring. And I'll give credit to Michigan overall here. If there's one thing where you watch this week, if you're on social media, you're watching somewhere, and there was one that I saw making the rounds, and it was like Michigan coming out of the tunnel and Ohio State coming out of the tunnel, and they're both, they're all, jawing back and forth. And it's like, yeah, it fires you up. It's intense. It's taking you right down there where they both come out, and it's great. They had other ones with Michigan was going down the tunnel, or I'm sorry, Ohio State was, and Michigan was behind them, and you see the Buckeyes turning back, and there was, some more jaw jacking, and when you watch this game, then you see like the highlights of Boston and Charles Woodson going at it, like they're, and a bunch of other ones like that. My point here is that when the tempers flare, you kind of know, like, you're going to be immortalized on TV, getting over there and forever, when you get one of these dust ups, because they'll play it, and to restrain yourself enough where you're not pulling somebody's helmet off or actually getting a penalty and costing them. It's good that you didn't do that. I got one more reminder. I thought I was leaving you, but I'm not yet. And I'll read a couple more of these key plays. I guess you could stay on here all day. Every time I see Michigan walk down that tunnel, they have added just a little bit here and there of, you'll see just something, because the tunnel, it's just got white paint all the way down there. But you've got about 100 yards maybe 100 feet, maybe, of all of this available space. Now, I'm not saying put commercials up there, but what I'm saying is there's such an opportunity where you've got artists all around Ann Arbor. Probably they go to school there. You know, some Michigan murals. You know, the old Joe Louis Arena, they used to put the names of the Stanley Cup teams, you know, on the walls down there and below in the concourse. How about something like that? How about painting that all blue and then Big Ten championship teams, anything like that? You could do a million things down there, except just the old white prison walls. I've said that for years. One time that they're going to do it in the next, 10, 20, 50 years, you're going to say, you know what? Fithian said that they should have done that. I think I have some available audio for you. Let's see. I might here. In fact, I do. Let's see if I have some audio coming from. I'm on live. Let's see if I can do this. I'm 100% sure because I'm actually looking at myself live here. But here is Aiden Hutchinson from one day ago. Maybe I can't. All right, let's read some more of the feedback about the key plays in the game. Let's see, key plays. This is all talking about OSU player getting ejected. I thought when Blake Corum took off on his big play, that 55-yarder, that's what I said. That was from a Michigan 77. Here's somebody that doesn't want to say one play. He has like 6 or 7. I'll pull one of them down. He'll say the opening drive of the second half. That's the Corum series. Off to the right, first down, weaves for 55 yards, and then Haskins takes it in from the right side. So you have to pick one of those. Here's somebody that wants to pick. He's got 20 things here. Michigan. He's talking about Michigan just being a physical team. The most significant thing about that people love that helmet ripping here is what they're talking about. Let's see if I can get one more. Turn the tide, even if they took the lead. It came right when we took the lead back. The tone was set in the first series. People don't want to give it one play. And I get that. It's hard. It's hard to pick one play or if there was a turning point in this game. But yeah, when Ohio State took the lead 10-7, Garrett Wilson made the spectacular catch and Stroud made the great throw. Michigan came back on their second series there of the second quarter. I think you can pick the 4th and 1 from Haskins. They had to go for on that series. How about Cornelius Johnson, 37 yards, flying it down the right side, looks back, boom, the ball's right there. There's a play for you. If you don't want to go with the 55-yarder, how about the Kojo 37-yard reception after the 4th and 1, and then Haskins takes it in for the 1. I'll go with the Cornelius Johnson 37-yard reception. Michigan's down at that point, 10-7. They just pick up a first down after a 4th down run, and Cade McNamara throws his best ball of the day. And when you see that, you're like, man, they should throw it more often. But, Kojo completely turns, boom, the ball's there. Spectacular play. And 12 plays, 60. That wasn't. That was Ohio State, who came back and had it at 14-13 at the end of the half. But I'll go with Cornelius Johnson there, or Corum, the 55-yard run. Seems like I could talk about this one all day. Are there any other plays that I would say that jumped out? Let me just look here. I take a look at the second half. Like a lot of Haskins runs, man. How could you pick just one play from Hassan Haskins? I kind of liked Cade McNamara taking off and running. You know what? How about Aiden Hutchinson? There's a play. I'd have to go back and look. I'll find this one. So he had the 3 sacks, but there's a video of him taking the tackle and throwing him like he's a 195-pound weakling at tackle, pushing him back, and then getting a pressure on the QB. That particular play, considering the game that Hutchinson had and just how the defense played, I'll put that one in there somewhere as well. But that's one of the greatest games I've ever seen Michigan play. And, the ones that come immediately to mind are ones you could say, well, there have been other great games. Yeah, there have been a lot of great games. And so you start going like, well, Biaka Batuka, that was Biaka Batuka had the great game and the offensive line was great. Michigan lost 4 games that year. The next year when they beat Ohio State, 13-7 and spring slip, Ty Streets, Michigan had also lost 4 games. So you go to a season and you almost always go to 97 because the 97 game, Woodson takes the punt back against Ohio State. Andre Weathers had a pick in that game, and that was, to me, the greatest game that I've ever seen Michigan play. Was it number 1 versus number 2? Pretty close. 2 top 5 teams. Let me actually look. I've got those rankings in 97. I'm going to say 1 versus 3 or 1 versus 2. Any guesses on the 97 game heading into there? Was it number 1 versus number 2? Let's see. 1997, 1 versus 4. What was this one? 2 versus 5. 2 versus 5. And so, here's what's going to happen with this game right here. The 97 Ohio State game, to me, was the greatest game that I've ever seen. Why? Well, Michigan was number 1, and it sent them to the Rose Bowl, where ultimately they beat Washington State and won the national championship. It validated that particular game. Saturday, if Michigan goes out and beats Iowa and wins the Big Ten, it makes Saturday's game, and it stands alone. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they have to win it or the season's a loss and everything that's been stacked up. The win is incredible, but it does get a boost and it does get validated even more with a win on Saturday. And that's when you start going back and you think about, the Washington game. When the Washington game happened, remember, it was a ground and pound. I enjoyed watching Michigan win that game, but there were a lot of people, myself included, thinking, is Michigan going to be able to play like this all year? Washington had lost to Montana. They've got to find a passing game. They can't just run the ball down everybody's throat. I mean, this isn't, 1976. They've got to be able to throw the ball. Well, they ran it down Ohio State's throat. But all of these games now that you go through, the evidence was there. A 1-2 punch. And really, I don't want to do this because, coach speak is coach speak. Before the season, Josh Gaddis had one of his news conferences, and he was sitting there and he was asked what the key was going to be for the offense and what about the speed and space and everything else. And he basically said that Michigan needed to get back to running the ball. This was going to be a run first type team. And I'm listening to that. I'm like, you know what? That's all cliche coach stuff. I've heard that listening to Michigan coaches for, as long as I've been able to listen to them and understand. They all talk about, we need to run the football. So I didn't pay much attention to it, but you know what? Josh Gaddis was being honest there. And it does make me think about the second half. I said this myself. What a beautiful game plan, from Josh Gaddis and Jim Harbaugh and the whole offensive staff. I mean, in the one series, it happened for sure when it was in the third quarter where Donovan Edwards had the one-hander. J.J. McCarthy came in, had a 33-yarder. Roman Wilson then on a flea flicker. It's like, they were empty in the playbook, and it was great to watch. But in the fourth quarter, they what did they throw, one pass? They had a couple where there was a pass interference, and then there was another one. There was an offsides, a free play when Andrel Anthony went diving out there. But mostly, it was ground and pound. And, if it doesn't work, I mean, it did. Look at you go, 0, 9, 8, 6, 2, 9, 3, 2. Yeah, you had a pass interference. But for the most part, it was ground and pound. Those things, one time it doesn't come through and people are like, myself. You got to be able to throw the ball. You got to do something different. But it all came together for him. It was a magnificent game plan all the way through there. I'll go through one more thing that I thought that Michigan deserves credit for here. Is that Jim Harbaugh took a lot of heat for playing J.J. McCarthy, especially in that Michigan State game where they lost. And this was the perfect setup for anybody locally or nationally, in the media, fans and alike, where, it just doesn't work in college football, in the history of college football. Steve Spurrier tried it. Ohio State tried it against Michigan. Joe Germain and Stanley Jackson. Joe's going to play and Jack's going to start. Joe's going to play. All those things. So we get there. So when it doesn't work, you're just setting yourself up for criticism. And so when McCarthy had the 2 fumbles against Michigan State, I knew that, just like you did, that he was going to get attacked for that. And what are you doing? Especially with the track record of the quarterbacks. I mean, it was there. I mean, it was such an easy criticism. And I thought that Saturday that McCarthy shouldn't have played. I would have gone out there with just the quarterback plan that they had at Penn State. McCarthy didn't play in Happy Valley. You get to this point, it's like, hey, let's just go with the game plan. Don't try to get too cute. But in this game here, every play that McCarthy was in for, I mean, he ran a couple himself. He was fabulous. He really was. Which does beg the question in the future. Like this Saturday, should McCarthy play? You know what? It worked for him this past Saturday. I mean, all of his plays were very positive. What about in the college football playoff? I think they're going to keep doing it. I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't have this past Saturday. Now I'm aboard. I mean, how much you're going to flip flop? You got to be careful there. And they're not playing with house money or anything. They're trying to win Big Ten championship and then a national championship. It's fun to sit here and talk about winning a Big Ten championship, being one step away and being one step away from the college football playoff. One of the there's 2 things just besides just you have this extra week now. We don't have to look back at the season. Hey, what was your favorite play and where everything went wrong? Where'd it go right? And now, you get a chance to play in Indy, and Saturday is going to be an experience that I've never had, where Michigan's playing in the game at 8:00. It actually sets up pretty nice as a Michigan day. Michigan basketball takes on San Diego State at 1:00. You've got the Big 12 game going off right about then, but I'm going to be watching Michigan San Diego State. And then you got the SEC championship game. That's going to be a nice warm-up. Watching Georgia, Alabama. That's going to be a nice and is Cincy playing there too, right? Right in that same time slot. Saturday's going to be awesome. And then you get the nightcap with Michigan taking on Iowa for the chance to win the Big Ten for the first time since 2004. I mean, what were you doing in 2004? I played that Paul Feinbaum earlier, and I tell people, like, if you don't like Paul Feinbaum, just turn him off. Don't listen to him. Don't let him rile you up so much. People like getting riled up. What about this guy? He should, stick it, because they're sticking it to Michigan all the time. Usually, trolls and opponents like Spartan Media or Paul Feinbaum, they say things that are mostly true, and they just hammer that point. Like, Michigan had not beaten Ohio State, so that, but you just keep jamming it down your throat. I bring that up because I can remember, and it's been a few years, where it was College Game Day. I don't even remember what game it was at, but they had a picture of Miley Cyrus. And below it was like the last time Michigan had won the national championship, and they had a picture of Miley Cyrus, and she was like, I don't know, what was her name? Hannah Montana. Like she was like 10 years old, like sitting there, like there was Hannah. And yeah, so it's been 2004 has been a while. It's been a minute. So being able to do that will be a heck of an accomplishment. And then, you know what? Is it gravy then? That's the question to you. Michigan wins on Saturday, wins the Big Ten for the first time since 2004. You know, takes the monkey of Ohio State, throws it off its back this year. Is then the college football playoff just gravy? No. In a sense, it would be, because entering the year, Michigan was just, picked to win 7.5 games. And then, to be able to get, but if you looked at the Final Four and the other three teams you're looking at, and you're like, wow, Michigan can't play with those teams. There's no way that Michigan can play. But you know what? That's not the feeling at all as we sit here today. Can Michigan beat, Cincinnati's deserving to be in there. They beat Notre Dame. And, no, they don't have week in and week out tests that, are as demanding as the Power Five. I get that, but they deserve to be in there. And their quarterback's nice, and they're a nice story. Also, they played some tight games that almost had them dropping out, even though they were undefeated in there. It's like, wait a second. Beating Tulane by 2 points, you need to do a little bit better than that. But I'm saying all that because if Michigan plays Cincinnati, I don't have the line in front of me. I don't think it's like Cincinnati's going to be favored by 8 points or something. I think that's going to be a pretty low spread. Michigan might even be favored in that one. In fact, if Michigan goes out and blows the doors off of Iowa, like I think that, can happen, and they have their 1-2 punch in the running game, and Aiden Hutchinson goes out and wins the Heisman Trophy, and Michigan should be favored in that game. So, the gravy talk is when you sit back and say, you know what, they're going above their heads here. This is above their pay. None of that. They can beat Cincinnati. If Georgia beats Alabama, and Alabama should be bounced, and who is it going to be, Notre Dame or Oklahoma State? I've watched both of those teams. Michigan can beat Notre Dame, or they can beat Oklahoma State. Would I like to see Michigan play Notre Dame in the college football playoff? Yes. Yes, because, I'll take that. I'll take any of them. I'll take Alabama. Like I said before, I think, Alabama's more named than they are some vintage Alabama team that you got to be scared of. This would be a good year to get Alabama. Bring them on. And it might be Alabama. But can Michigan beat them? They can. Now, and then you get to a championship game, it's supposed to be tough. It's supposed to look at it like, oh, man, that defense, you kidding me? But you can rush the passer, run the football a little bit, make some plays. It's not the craziest thing as we sit here. Does it sound a little crazy? Michigan winning on Saturday does not sound crazy. Does Michigan beating Alabama or Cincinnati or Notre Dame or Oklahoma State in the first round of the college football playoff, does that sound crazy? No. No, it doesn't. Beating Georgia? It's not a little crazy. But get to a championship game? Yeah. Anything can happen. I don't know about anything can happen. Maybe. They'd be decided underdog. I hope to see it, just like you do. Okay. I'll be here tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thanks for watching, and that'll do it. Good night. Good afternoon.